Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to look over the weekly metagame breakdown for the historic best of one format. June's qualifier weekend will be historic. There was a brief typo on the weekly updates. People were up in arms. It said Pioneer when it was supposed to be historic, but they fixed that. So there's going to be a best of one play-in, and then the best of three play-in, and then the weekend itself will be best of three. So today is the last day of May's season. There's about 5 hours left. I'm camping to secure my top 1200, but we will look at which decks leading in terms of mythic rank towards the end of the month. Now note, historic tends to be a little bit wide open at times, so people do play pet decks. There's a big swing in terms of MMR towards the top from the bottom, so sometimes you'll see some inflated win rates on less optimized decks, just they're playing against weaker competition at like lower rates, like lower mythic percentages. So when we look at the first highest win rate deck, I'm actually not going to feature it because I don't think it's actually a good deck. I think it's just a small sample size with someone playing against weaker competition, if you would. But Boros Auras is the most popular deck. Boros Energy at 15, Samwise Combo at 12, Simic Eldrazi at 6. Notably, there's a weird bug right now in Best of One on Untapped where the Sorin decks aren't popping up in Best of One, but we get them in Best of Three. So I've pulled some Best of Three lists to give you an idea of what you can play in Best of One, as well as the combo kind of works pretty well in the format as well. Untapped here is where we're getting the stats. Link for Untapped is in the video description, and then all these deck lists I'll paste and timestamp in the deck list or in the description as well. You can check out that, my socials, ways to support the channel, everything there. So we're gonna jump into it. 65,000 games from May 10th through today. So we're going to look about like 2-ish weeks. And Mono Green Elves was technically the highest win rate deck. I don't think this is... You can usually tell by the lands. No Bezeju, no Green Castle Garenbrig. Just little things like that. Not playing a full 4 of Leaf Crown Visionary seems wrong. So there's like little nuanced things where I just don't think this is like the most optimized. I also don't think Elves is super well positioned in the format. It plays no interaction. So if you really want to play Elves, it's there, but I'm not going to really feature it. I don't think it's something that you would take to the event. A deck that can play reasonable into the Auras decks, or sorry, the Boros decks, some of the other kind of format staples. It's a combo deck. It's the Woodlands Combo at 77%. So it's a base Gruul deck. And the whole concept of the deck is to put into your graveyard enough cards to establish Delirium, have Shifting Woodlands become a copy of either Omniscience and then cast Big Eldrazi, or you can Shifting Woodlands a God Pharaoh's Gift while you have Ulamog the Defiler in your graveyard, and this will allow you to haste it out. It sees itself in exile, so it gets 10 counters and you annihilate your opponent's whole board. So this allows you to kind of go over the top of your opponent. You have a bunch of ways to kind of loot, Faithless Looting, Satyr Wayfinder fills your graveyard, Malavent Rumble fills your graveyard, Pyre can either be a removal or looting, Vampire's Vengeance is a sweeper for the aggressive decks, and then it allows you to create a blood token that allows you to loot as well. You have Atraxa and then some of your bigger things. Some of these decks also feature Karn that allows you to get access to a Karn board, but it's kind of how you want to approach. This one's a little bit cleaner in terms of the 4 of numbers. Haywire Might hits a lot of the common hate pieces that might exist as well. Moving on, Boros Auras, 77%. This is the deck I kind of most frequently rank up with. A couple things with this list here that I think I would change. This card here, Realm Breaker, I wouldn't play it. I think the deck you really want to be aggressive and assertive in terms of how you want to play it. So Realm Breaker's Grasp, I wouldn't play. All That Glitters I like with the Conjunction Demonic Ruckus. The big kind of flex spots in these decks is if you want to be on the Amped Raptor package or if you want to be on the Hushbringer. Hushbringer shuts off, incidentally, a lot of the effects out of energy. It stops mono green. It can stop like any of the kind of Persist Combo shenanigans. Anything with ETB effects, you can kind of work around it in that regard. Which plays fairly nicely. The Amped Raptor plays better into heavy removal based matchups. But the core of the deck is Light Paws and Core Spirit Dancer, and you are able to draw a bunch of cards or like tutor spell, like a toolbox style effect with your auras. This version here, I would play still the full for Esper Sentinels. The War Squeak in here is another way to give a creature haste. or sorry, yeah, it gives it haste, and it also prevents something from blocking, very similar to the effect of Hammer Hand. So this allows you in later turns to light pause and haste it out the same turn by fetching for it. Big Client of Line is Demonic Ruckus to tutor up Sheltered by Ghosts on your light pause as early as turn 2. Boros Energy, 76%. So this list here, a couple of ways you can build it. There is a more tokeny mobilized version of the deck with Stadium Headliner and Voice of Victory in place. I think this deck has a lot of flexibility in terms of how you can build it. The one thing, I don't believe in playing Aether Hub in the Luris version. Everything in your deck already cascades down. This is just going to eat away at your mana. Just play like either another Battlefield Forge or Basics, something in that place. This version's on Grease Wrench Goblin. It's a 2/1 that allows you to discard for some value. I think Stadium Headliner, all things, would be better. Plays better with Goblin Bombardment in terms of drawing you, or like making multiple bodies. In and of itself, it can sacrifice to be removal. So there's a little bit more utility there. This version's on an Inti in here. I do really like Thraben Charm. I think this card's very flexible, just hitting a lot of the common things. So it's got Graveyard Hate when you need it against the Graveyard combo decks. It's removal, and it could incidentally hit enchantments where needed. You could hit your opponent's Goblin Bombardment, for example. But the big kind of power of the deck is the Ajani Goblin Bombardment package, just being able to flip it and machine gun down your opponent. We do have nerfed Docile its Pride, but can still snowball in terms of the game itself. Luris Companion in here. Izzet Belcher, so this deck here is looking to win through Goblin Charbelcher. You'll notice all the lands in the deck are MDFCs, and this deck here really is just about finding the Belcher. You can make artifacts cheaply, things like Strike It Rich can make artifacts, the Magma Opus, that allows you to either ramp ahead, or you can use Indomitable Creativity, which will always find you your Goblin Charbelcher. The rest of the deck is just kind of some incidental removal and just ways to kind of dig for it. Gamble can help you dig for it. As well as, like I said, the Indomitable Creativity. You have the March of Reckless Joy. You can pitch the lands to get extra deep into your library. And then you also have kind of the combo as early as turn 3 potentially, where you Iron Crag, it generates enough mana to Belcher that same turn, and you have Protection, Impact, and Negation. Azorius Affinity, 71%. So base blue version of the deck. So most of them will be the blue, and then they splash a second color, typically white, since you get Esper Sentinel and Portable Hole. You have the ability with like Tamiyo and Emery that plays really nice in terms of the shell. Tamiyo makes artifacts when it attacks, which increases your affinity count, which is easy then to flip with Thoughtcast and Thought Monitor, which works with Tamiyo. So it's all kind of a self amalgamating tool. Tormod's Crypt is Graveyard Hate. That could keep coming back. You have Ornithopter as a cheap effect with Retrofitter Foundry. Metallic Rebuke's basically a 1-mana counterspell, and then your Kappa Cannoneer is your top end. Biggest thing I find with this deck is you can kind of you can do a lot of game actions in the early turns, but sometimes you just kind of flood out, or just you really have to rely on the Cannoneer to close out some of the games. Your main threats, like Emery, if it goes unchecked, is very powerful, but it still runs the risk of very easily killed. It's a 1/2 at the end of the day. Persist Combo, 72%. So this deck here is a self-mill deck, can win as early as turn 2. What you're trying to do is put cards into your graveyard. This version's got a lot of one-offs, which is a bit interesting, but basically the core of it is you have Scholar of the Lost Troves that you want to persist back. It will flash back Emergent Ultimatum, and you can start taking extra turns, cast basically just big free spells, chain them together. Your Mizzix Mastery can recast stuff from the graveyard as well. Conspiracy Unraveler is another way to collect evidence and kind of chain together with the deck. So it's kind of the core of what you're trying to do. Put cards to your graveyard, reanimate a fatty, cast a bunch of big spells for free. Take extra turns, kill them in combat the next turn. Sam Combo. So this deck here, 70%. This deck is looking to do an infinite combo. Samwise Gamgee, Cauldron Familiar, and any sort of sack outlet, Cartel Aristocrat, or Goblin Bombardment, or Bartholomew will allow you to basically infinitely loop the cat, gain and drain your opponent to death, since it makes a food token every time it comes into play with Samwise Gamgee. You can find the combo with Amped Raptor or Birthing Ritual, or even Goblin Trap Finder. Gilded Goose helps fix your mana and ramps you up. And then you have Abrupt Decay as removal. The deal with hate pieces, and perhaps there again just some value engines, and then Johnny also works with Cauldron Familiar because it's a cat, so the cat flips a Johnny, which is kind of sweet in that regard. The mana base is kind of tough in this deck. When I was playing it, sometimes you lose to your mana more than you lose to anything else. Also playing 24 lands, which seems a little bit excessive in terms of the overall kind of curve of the deck, just being 1 and 2 drops. Simic Eldrazi, the deck that when my opponent plays it always has the nut draws, the 69%. So skilled Eldrazi players, like skilled mono red leyline players, always have it. So Devourer of Destinies allows you to kind of set up your early draws. Ugin's Labyrinth helps you ramp up ahead. So you imprint a 7-drop, and then you get to basically generate 2 mana early. Works nicely with things like Mind Stone, so you could basically make like 4 mana on turn 2 potentially. Utopia Sprawl is another way to kind of get ahead. The Sowing Mycospawn can quickly help you ramp too, so it's not uncommon to potentially have like 4 mana on turn 2. You cast your Sowing Mycospawn, get another land. You can kind of tutor for stuff like Cavern, Blast Zone, Phyrexian Scrapyard, or the Shifting Woodlands. And then you just have your kind of inevitable top end with the big Eldrazi's. Ugin just kind of takes over. Barn board in here, and then you can flashback stuff with Ugin's Binding, Kozilek's Command, another strong one. God Pharaoh Statue taxes people, Liquid Metal Coating, blows up permanents, Stone of Erich for sack decks, Pithing Needle for activated abilities, Haywire Might for artifacts, enchantments, and Tormod's Crypt. So a bunch of just hate pieces in there. So less in terms of win conditions outside of the God Pharaoh Statue, which is just more of a slow burn, where mono green sometimes has a little bit more in terms of win conditions. Azorius Controls is more like a tempo deck. So this deck here is looking to establish a lock of High Noon, and then basically cheap counters that don't really counter. So a Reprieve puts a card back into your opponent's hand, doesn't really counter. Aven Interrupter forces them to plot. Spell Queller exiles. Now notably with Spell Queller, when it dies, the opponent gets cast for free, but with High Noon, it could kind of disrupt them where they don't get that value, which is kind of sweet. Similarly with Divine Purge, if they exile it, they might not be able to cast it if they've already cast a spell for Archon of Emeria, same kind of idea, 1 spell per turn. You have Tamiyo's in here. 3 steps ahead could copy like your Spell Quellers, your Talion's Throne Guard, which is another nice tax effect. You have some Jaces in here, so it's kind of like a tempo-oriented shell. I was playing a version a little bit more flash-oriented. I was playing Kalims in it. I like the Kalims. Full into the Flood Maws I found a little bit more effective. A couple, I kind of ditched the Tamiyo in it, but it's a fun deck, but you can kind of get run down by some of the aggressive decks. The one thing it kind of lacks is consistent card draw, I find. You can kind of lock them, but if your opponent's able to 2-for-1 enough, then it becomes a little bit different because your counters aren't necessarily true counters. When you have High Noon out, it's really good. When you don't have High Noon out, it can struggle a bit. Mono green Devotion, so another Karn deck. This deck here is looking to generate huge amounts of mana through Nykthos. You have the combination of Fanatic Aronis, Utopia Sprawl, and your Dorks that help you get out early Kioras. Trailblazer also draws you cards. You find your Nykthos, tap on tap, generate huge amounts of mana, go through Storm, eventually get your Karn out. You could get Portal to Phyrexia. Platinum Angel could lock out some opponents. Chroma's Memorial is a way to haste out your team. Contagion Engine is really good against the go wide decks. Things with a bunch of like 1/1s, your token decks. Needle for activated ability. Cage for stuff trying to get cheated into play. And then Tormod's Crypt. We have 2 Sorin decks. So these are best of 3 decks, but you can pretty much play the best of 1 version. So this is the Jund version of the deck. Doing well in best of 3. So you are looking to consistently find the combo of Sorin and Elenda. This version's on Jarsoul. That will allow you to recast stuff from your graveyard. So you get extra hand hate. Fatal Push, Looting helps you dig. Assemble the Team helps you dig for the combo. Malevolent Rumble mills you over. So a lot of ways to just kind of find elements of the deck that way. You also have the backup plan of Ulamog the Defiler plus Emperor of Bones. Emperor of Bones can basically cheat out the Ulamog, again, similar to the Woodlands Combo. It gets haste, it sees itself in exile, so you annihilate the board. So there's that version of the deck, and then there's just the kind of Orzhov mid-rangey version. So this one's got like the blink package. You have Overlord of the Balemerc that helps you find stuff. Felia and Dollmaker could blink. You have the Overlord, no Ulamog, or sorry, Emperor, no Ulamog, but you can reanimate Saint Elendaz, for example. You also have Vona, destroys non-land permanents, and then you get to conjure duplicates of it. It's also a vampire for the Sorin trolls, something you can use to fix your mana. And then it lets you have another reanimation threat. Juggernaut Peddler, Thoughtseize to eat out opponent's hand. You have Witch Enchanter and Bogart Trawler, both ways to kind of find lands off the Overlord itself. That's it for the week. Let me know how you've been playing. Good luck to those competing, and we'll be doing some testing probably this month to see what decks we're going to play for the event. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great one, and stay safe out there.